But yeah, okay. Well, let's talk to Christian in Michigan, if we can, who has some questions about the deconversion process, or maybe the coming out process. Christian, what's your story?
Hi. So a couple years ago, well, more like 7 or 8 years ago, I was introduced to my father-in-law. Sorry, a little nervous.
Sure.
So introduced to my father-in-law. He, I had a bad home situation, ended up moving out in the middle of high school, living with him for a while. He introduced me to the faith. And then, fast forward to like a year or so ago, began to really question my faith, to where I am now, just really doubting everything. This show is a big part of that. I know I don't know if Matt's a part of the show anymore, but Matt Dillahunty, he was a big influence for me as well.
Glad to hear.
So it caused me to do a lot of questioning. And rather recently, I kind of came out to my family. I got married, and so I've got these kids, and was a married Catholic. And since having these questions, coming critical, I kind of made a internal realization that I don't think I'm Christian. I don't think I can believe. I don't think I have solid reasons for believing these things. And so recently kind of came out to my family that, or at least to my wife, that is, that, hey, I don't think I believe anymore. And it's kind of spread over to my in-laws. And it's just caused a bit of kind of strife there. I've got, 4 children with my wife. And it's just kind of a bit of, how do we go about raising them? I've made the decision to, try to keep the peace, let them, be raised with, Catholic teaching. And then when they come to an age where they're able to, understand, I'll try and teach them about the reason that I have now. I'm doing that a little bit now, but really, when they start asking these questions, really giving them the truth of the matter as they get older. I'm just, it's a tough situation because my wife isn't nearly as, I don't want to say intellectually strong, but she's not questioning things like the way I am.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's just, it's tough with things like that. And it's, my questioning has led me to test a whole lot. I've made, I guess you could say, a lot of like drastic changes in my life. I've changed my stance. Like recently became vegan, which was kind of a big thing. Changed my stance on transgender. Coming from a Catholic church, and abortion too. That's kind of a big one. I haven't really talked with anybody about that, but just trying to be more consistent in my view, and it's just been a challenge, especially with my father-in-law. He became something like a father figure for the longest time, and I still periodically engage with him intellectually about these things. But my mother-in-law, she's not as intellectually strong as he is. So oftentimes when we talk, they get kind of heated.
Sure.
I guess I'm trying to ask, do you guys have any sort of guidance for like, how do I navigate a situation like this? I want to be honest about what I believe and how I feel. But it can just be challenging of a topic to bring up, especially with my wife, because I love my wife. I want to continue to have a relationship with her, and to raise my kids. It's just it's tough, and I'm trying to figure out how I should.
Yeah, and a lot of people like to say that atheism is just another religion, right? And I think that a situation like this is one of the best proofs of why that isn't true, because you are not in a two-faith marriage. You are in a marriage that has one person of faith and one atheist. And so when it comes to raising kids, you don't have to worry about, oh, well, they're hearing at church about X, Y, and Z, and so I need to teach them about 1, 2, 3. And you don't have that same type of conflict of needing to make sure you get, quote, equal time in order to share your beliefs. You can, just alongside your wife's religious teachings, teach critical thinking, teach the scientific method, teach your children about reason and about insight and about sort of checking their own personal convictions against the knowledge of others and how to use philosophy and logic and all of these types of tools without trying to worry about whether or not they're getting the right, magical stories included in all of this. And I know that that wasn't the biggest piece of your question, but I think it really underlines the idea that you don't have an obligation to share anything specific. Like, if you choose not to come out to certain family members, that's totally a valid choice. I don't know that there's anything that you have to do, because there's no angry God looking over your shoulder making sure you don't cross certain lines. Now, if you want to be loving and intimate and connected with these people in your life, being as honest as you can is a valuable strategy, but I recognize that that's not always quite the reality.
Yeah, and a lot of what you said, I follow through. That idea that they can go through and learn the theology. I even, in my conversion, I became kind of, probably I would consider myself more versed in the theology than the average, Catholic.
Sure.
I feel like I could even teach them the good parts, sort of steelman it for them, and then, provide them with the critiques that I'm having. And maybe
it's amazing how many atheists know the Bible better than the Christians that they're talking to. It's a well-documented phenomenon.
Right.
Christian,
yeah.
So 2 things for you. First, you're going to have to change your name.
Hey, I did it. It worked out okay.
Yeah, I don't know how long you can be Christian anymore. No, just kidding. But what I want to do is tell you what I wish I didn't do. And when I realized that I was an atheist, right? First, I'd struggled with my religion for a long time, and it took me studying history and studying religions and having a background studying multiple religions to kind of come up with this idea like, wow, I'm not a believer anymore. I got really angry, and I kind of lashed out at the world around me, and I didn't come out, if you will, to my parents and to my family the way that I wish I would have now. I wasn't very civil about it. I kind of held some resentment in. And so what I would hate to learn is that, you weren't as delicate as you could be about it, because you're in a tough situation that I don't think a lot of people end up in, at least that I've talked to, which is, typically it's like your parents or your in-laws or your brothers or something, your sisters. But I seldom run into people who have trouble in a marriage because they don't believe, and that can be very difficult. So I wish I was a little bit more delicate. I wish I had a more open, honest conversation about my transition and how I arrived where I am. And I think, trying to place your beliefs alongside your wife's beliefs, to Christy's point, probably be a good way to go about that as well. So I hope, you could take something from what I had to say and, what Christy had to say.
No, I thank you guys very much for the advice. You're right. It's tough. And it's, so far this hasn't been it's been a strain on our relationship as far as that goes. But I think in a lot of ways, I think I am handling it delicately enough. I'm being very open. I'm talking with her and her parents, because her parents were the Catholic part of that family, about what I'm questioning. And I'm trying my best to, interact with them to a point. I don't want it to come off as like I'm lost forever. If anything, and it matters to me. It might not matter at all, but it matters to me that they see that I'm being genuine, that I'm not like a danger or something to because that's their daughter. I don't want to be presented as if like I'm a danger, I'm a bad influence to their daughter. I want to come off this way. So I'm being open, not only with my wife, but with them. But like I'm saying, I'm fortunate that I'm of the temperament that I'm not angry at anything. Even when I first started questioning and doing the deconversion, it was all intellectual. It's like I just came to the conclusion like, well, I can't say this is true. And then I just gradually went to the point where like, I just don't have the evidence. I feel like I would need to. I one time asked my wife, like, what is the proof that you have? And she listed things that you'll often hear, like a first mover, look at the fine tuning and things like that. I had this experience of supernatural, natural things. And I would just kind of say, well, here are my problems with these examples, and this is why I can't come to where you are. And a lot of the times I see it go down to, I had this personal experience of this supernatural thing that happened that I can't explain. And I just tell them, well, I haven't, so I can't get to where you are. 'Cause it sounds like that's how you get there.
So if you didn't catch the beginning of the show, we had a similar conversation. You might maybe want to play back and listen to that and see if there's other, kind of helpful tidbits that we had.
Sure.
Okay.
But I empathize with you.
Much.
Yeah. Good luck to you.